Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Vanity Voices, and I am again blessed with another amazing guest. Henry Schrader is the English voice actor for Ben Bigger in Zenless Zone Zero. How you doing? Yes, of course. Amazing. Wait, sorry, give me 1 second. Chat, are you able to hear? I think it may have switched one of my things. Can't hear him? Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, you should be good now. Say a sentence.
Hello, hello.
Yes. Okay, there we go. All right. Let me reintroduce chat. Amazing. There's always going to be technical difficulties in these because it's not a good stream without scuff. Okay, you can hear him? Okay, sick. Amazing. Anyway, like I said, this is Henry Schrader, the ENVA of Been Bigger. How you doing?
Doing good. Still a little sore because I went climbing, but good. I think it would be a fun avant-garde kind of stream if you just left it they couldn't hear me the entire time.
You know what? That would be pretty fun.
Saying.
Yes, exactly. A good game of charades. I like it.
Yeah.
So you said you went climbing. Would you do like rock climbing, or was it like actual like climbing? Like going out. Okay, let me rephrase that. Indoor rock climbing or like outdoor like climbing on real rocks?
Yeah, no. Indoor bouldering.
Indoor bouldering.
My thing. Yeah. I was like, what does he mean by real climbing?
By real climbing, yeah.
Climbing?
Climbing trees, of course.
Yeah, so no, I just go to a bouldering place nearby because as fun as it seems to climb outside, I also don't want to fall off something unless there's several feet of pads below me.
Real.
And I don't trust that they would like stay there or that the people watching would be fast enough. So
yeah. That's fair. I've always wanted to I've always had fun rock climbing, and I've wanted to go to like little just nearby like climbing things to just have fun, because it obviously it's a good workout like when you're climbing. Yes. Yeah, for sure. Like you said, you're sore. Do you do it? Is that like a thing that you do on the regular, or was that just like a thing that you did recently?
Yeah, I started doing it February, I think. Just because for me, regular exercise is always so boring. Like, I hate running. I don't want to lift weights. Anytime I've tried, I just get bored after like a week, and then I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. So it was either this or martial arts classes of some kind.
Yeah.
Martial arts classes are horrendously expensive.
Yes, they are.
I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll try rock climbing. And yeah, it's fun. I do it twice a week for about an hour each time.
Hell yeah.
You know, the progress is slow. I've just started to be able to do like V3s fairly consistently. And the scale is VB, which is basic, all the way up until, I want to say the max is like 11. So
is the V like just like a difficulty thing? Like when you say V3, what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know what V stands for.
Okay, yeah.
But it's for bouldering, that's what they'll say, oh, it's a V1, and that's like a relatively easy route that has some maybe technical stuff to it, like foot placement or whatever. But like there's a giant gap between each of them. Like,
is there?
I can't do any V4s currently.
Where's the like the slanted wall where you have to like do it diagonally? Is that what V is that?
Depends on the route. I actually prefer climbing on those walls just because if you fall, you just fall straight down. There's nothing to hit. Whereas if you're on one of the flat walls or like angled inward, if you slip on that, then you just drag along the wall all the way down. Yeah, I guess
that's true, yeah.
So, and I mean, the slant makes it harder, but depending on the route, it's not so bad. The worst ones are the ones on what they call the belly. It's like this overhang section where you're starting like, you know, basically horizontally, and then you have to climb up and over. Those are always so much arm strength.
That sounds
ridiculous.
Crazy. That's one of the things that I've always liked about rock climbing was like just the upper body strength that you needed to use. Because when I was a kid, that was like the only thing I had was upper body strength. And we ended up getting like a rock climbing wall in my middle school? Yeah, I think it was my middle school. In like the gym, they like revamped one of the walls to just be like a really big, like just basic like rock climbing wall.
That's
And
cool.
we had to do a bunch of like just start on one side and crawl all the way to the other side without like dropping to the floor. And that was very hard as a kid, I will say. But yeah, it was really fun.
I
It
mean,
was
that's
definitely very fun.
endurance for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I mean, if you have good technique, it shouldn't be that much arm strength, but it's tough. I mean, I still use my arms too much for
Yeah.
what I should be doing. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good workout for sure. I mean, I don't diet well. I don't
I
eat
don't either.
like I don't eat vegetables or fruits or anything, but like it's enough exercise that I've lost probably like 40 pounds.
Oh, wow. Hell yeah. Since
But,
February?
not since February, just like overall. Part of that was I went to Europe to live for a year, and just European food is smaller. So,
Yeah.
you know, I would eat less there just because it was like, oh, make a frozen pizza, and it's like, that wasn't enough food, but I also don't want to make a second frozen pizza.
Right,
That's
yeah.
annoying. So
it would be
I just feel
annoying.
like, I guess that's dinner, you know?
So you went to Europe to live there for how long, you said?
Last year, basically. It ended up being more like 9 months.
Oh, really?
But yeah, because me and my, at the time, fiance were, you know, planning for the future, and she was like, oh,
yeah,
it'd be nice to go live somewhere not America before we have like kids and can't go do that. So we went to Malta because it was cheaper to live than most of the other countries. So yeah, we ended up there for about 9 months, and then when it was time for like Christmas was coming up, we were like, well, we kind of want to be home for Christmas.
Yeah.
So we just cut it short and came back.
So did you enjoy it over there then?
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, Malta is a very, very odd country because it's in between Italy and Africa. So you get a lot of like African influence on like the architecture and stuff, but you also get like a lot of Italian influence on like the food, you know? Like there's a handful of dishes that are like Maltese national dishes, but for the most part what they serve is just Italian food, you know? They also got a lot of Turkish immigrants, so they had pretty good Turkish food.
That's so like that thing is always so interesting. Like the influence of different cultures, just because it's like near all these different places. That's super interesting, especially the architecture thing. I'm not like into architecture that heavy, but it is really cool seeing a bunch of different styles of buildings and stuff like that. But yes, I'm gonna jump the conversation back to voice acting real quick.
Right.
But yes. So what got you like into voice acting when you first started? Like what made you think, yeah, I want to do this?
Well, more or less. So I've realized the more I've talked about myself, none of my stories are just simple, clean. Like it's always like, so I have to explain this first.
Yeah.
So
that makes it better.
Around senior year of high school, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was never good at like math or, you know, any of the profitable things you learn in school.
Me either.
So I was like, well, I could be a writer, but, you know, I didn't know if that was because I was good at writing, but I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, you know? Well, I was trying to figure it out. My lung collapsed, which was the second time it happened. So went through the surgery, going through recovery.
Yeah.
And with that, the recovery is basically for 2 months you can't lift anything over 5 pounds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then every month after that you add 5 pounds. So I was like, what job could I possibly get where I'm never going to have to lift like 20 pounds, you know?
Right, yeah.
Like, even as like a secretary or something, it's feasible that they would be like, hey, can you move the printer? you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So I was at home just recovering, and I was like, all right, maybe now I'll try being a writer. So I wrote a book, decided I did not want to be a writer because it was a slog by the end.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I always liked voice acting. Like in middle school, I kind of figured out it was a job.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think it was either Steve Bloom or Johnny Young Bosch. I don't remember which one of them was the first that I was like, who is that doing
Yeah.
that voice? And then like looked it up and, kind of figured out that that's a thing. So, anime, video games, they were all cartoons, like big parts of my life. And I was like, all right, so the writer thing didn't work out, but maybe I could do that. So I just started kind of looking into what I could do from my home,
Yeah.
and ended up on like Casting Call Club, just
The
doing,
classic.
yeah, just doing like fan projects and stuff like that. And yeah, eventually, just continuing to do that. My ex's uncle, I think.
Uh-huh.
He's actually Scar on Broadway for The Lion King.
Oh, wow.
And so he was like, hey, if this is what you might want to do, I have a friend who does audiobooks on ACX. So then that was kind of my next step. And I was practicing with those. I was getting better at that stuff. And then I took lessons with Voices Carry to like really actually gain some performance skill.
Uh-huh.
Because you can learn to do it by yourself, but it's much easier to have someone there who can be like, hey, try this.
Right,
or
direct
like,
feedback, yeah.
this was good, but maybe, so yeah, that was kind of how I got into it, just because I was like, what else am I going to do? I don't know.
Hell yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's it is interesting that you mentioned that Steve Bloom might be one of the like first voice actors that you were like, who is this? Because I think Steve Bloom was the first voice actor that I was like, who is this? Because I played COD Zombies all the time growing up, and he's Dempsey, I believe, in COD Zombies, and that man's voice is so incredible. And now it's like the moment he's in anything, I can immediately tell who it is. I'm like, oh, that's my boy.
Yeah, I bet he was the awakening for a lot of people, because he was in everything in the 90s. Like, it's crazy watching old dubs, because like he was in stuff where he didn't even fit as the character, I think, just because they were like, look, he's the guy that we know, he's the one we have, let's just keep throwing him in. But it blew my mind when I learned he was Orochimaru in Naruto.
I did not know that.
Like,
I actually haven't watched Naruto. I have so many friends that are obsessed with Naruto, and they've always told me to watch it, but I haven't watched it yet.
I don't know. I would say the original series of Naruto is absolutely worth watching without the filler. But once you get into the time skip, it's like, all right, it kind of goes downhill. But
yeah, time skips are always like a 50-50 if it's good or not.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's crazy because it's a very different voice. Like, once you know it's him, you can kind of hear it a little bit, but like, everybody knows him for that, like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
Kind of gravelly. But then that voice is a lot more like, did you watch Hunter Cross Hunter?
Yes, I have, yes.
It's kind of like Keith Silverstein as Hisoka, where he's got that sort of like, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Quality. So, like, yeah, I didn't know it was him for years. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to check that out and see how it is. But you mentioned that you had your lung collapse. Am I able to, if you're able to share, what happened? Like, what caused that to happen?
So, usually, it's just like, if you're a smoker, it can happen, or if you have like blunt force trauma, like that, like if you're in a car accident or something and like your lung gets punctured, that. But for me, I was tall and thin, so that was it.
Oh, okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
What a great combo. Love that.
Yeah, when it happened, my mom was like, What happened? What's the deal?" And they were like, "Well, tall, skinny boys just can have this happen sometimes."
Oh, great.
So, yeah, because I mean, I'm 6'4", and I mean, I was like relatively tall as a kid,
Mhm.
but it wasn't until middle school, like from 5th to 6th grade, suddenly I was the tallest. Like, I went from like relatively normal size to like 6 feet
Yeah.
in 6th grade, and then it slowed down. By the time I was in senior year, I was 6'4", but I just couldn't put on weight like for anything.
Yeah.
Like in I want to say freshman year, I was like 6'2" and like 130
Oh,
pounds.
wow.
Like,
Okay. Yeah.
so, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm starving myself or I'm trying, like,
Right.
I was, after the first lung collapse, which was sophomore year, they were like,
Uh-huh.
you need to like put on weight so it doesn't happen again. And I was like, all right, I will try.
Mhm.
I ate so much, like, because I was in tennis, so like after a tennis meet or like a practice, I was starving.
Right. Yeah.
I would eat like 3 bowls of pasta with butter and cheese and
Yeah.
like all this bread and oil. Like I was stuffing myself and it would just be gone.
Yeah.
Like my metabolism was so fast.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, I mean, the big thing was I didn't eat a lot of meat back then. I was pretty picky. So once I started eating like cheeseburgers, it was like, okay, now I'm starting to gain some weight.
Yeah, I will say I was also, I still am, honestly, a pretty picky eater, and I actually did not start like eating cheeseburgers until like probably last year. I'm gonna be honest. I still
Yeah.
like my burger was always like just completely plain. I've never been into like sauces or anything like that.
Mm.
But yeah, even though I was a picky eater, I did love chicken, and I do still love chicken. I'm a fiend for chicken. I will eat it nonstop.
That's the one thing that I'm still like, I don't think I'm picky anymore. Like when I was in Malta, I was trying all sorts of stuff
Hmm.
that I would never have touched before.
Yeah.
While I was there, I tried rabbit, horse, and my favorite thing that I ate was squid ink pasta with cuttlefish.
Squid ink pasta. That is very interesting. I've had none of the things you just listed off.
It was super good. I love cuttlefish is really good, like as far as seafood goes, especially because it's kind of sweet
Hmm.
and like it's very light. Like when you get like shrimp that are really like big, like king shrimp and stuff, I'm not a big fan of that because there's like so much shrimp that it's like almost rubbery, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but there's just little strips of cuttlefish, so they were like nice and light and sweet. Yeah, they were really good.
I'll have to
But
try cuttlefish. I don't think I've ever had it because like I'm not a big fan of seafood because I'm not like I'm not allergic, but every time I've had seafood, it always messes up my stomach, and so I just like I haven't. You're just gonna say maybe I am allergic to seafood?
yeah, you might have a
Yeah.
mild allergy. 'Cause
Yeah, I guess that might be true.
I had the same thing. While I was over there, I had some kind of like mushroom cream sauce pasta, and I
Uh-huh.
didn't like mushrooms. Never had mushrooms. But after I ate that, I felt really sick. It's like,
Mhm.
man, I don't know. Maybe it was just too rich, the cream or something.
Yeah.
So I tried it again later on, and as I was eating, I started to feel more and more sick. And I was like, this is super weird. Told my mom that, and she's like, you're maybe allergic to mushrooms.
Yeah, so
'Cause
told you to stop eating it.
it's like the more you do it, the more it's going to reinforce that reaction, which is why, like, if you're allergic to bees, it's really dangerous. Because
Yeah.
if you get stung once, you're probably fine. If you get stung again, well, that's a whole separate level now, you
Yeah,
know?
I am allergic to bee stings, and I did one time. It was in elementary school. We were going out to recess, and they would sit us in lines, like just a bunch of different lines, and you had to sit crisscross applesauce while waiting for
Right.
our name to get called. And when I was waiting there, I just felt like a big like sting on my ear, and a bee just happened to land on my ear and sting like right on the top, and it swelled up so bad, and it was not a
Yeah.
pretty sight.
I'm allergic to penicillin, but that's about it. And I guess maybe
am I?
mushrooms.
I think I might be allergic to penicillin. I'm not allergic to like too many. I'm allergic to sulfameds. I know that much. And I think like anytime that I'm allergic to meds, I'll break out into hives all the time.
That's what happened when I had penicillin. It was
Just my mom in chat. Yeah, yes, I am allergic to penicillin.
I was going to go to school, and then I got hives really bad in elementary school because I had penicillin for something, and then my mom was like, "All right, you're not going to school looking like that." So since then, I mean, thank God we have other things you can take for infections now. Because if this were like the 1600s, I would have just died.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. I will say with the lung thing, because I have like really bad asthma, and I was definitely skinny growing up, but I wasn't tall, so I guess good on me for being short. But yeah, I have I don't even remember what it's called, but it's like it's a thing where my rib cage is like growing inward, or like when it was developing, it was going inward. So I kind of have like a dent in my chest, and so there's like an issue with that where like if it's too deep, then sometimes it can press on the lungs, and so they'll have to like surgery. They'll have to go in and break your rib cage apart and like rebuild it, which thankfully I have not had to do. But that would not be fun if that did happen.
Yeah, one of my friends has that same thing. He hasn't had to have the surgery either, but. Yeah, it doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, thankfully it's not like it. You don't feel it, so it's not like it doesn't affect my everyday life. But there's just like that. What if it does press on my lungs like thing happening? But is what it is. But to go back again to we're gonna go on so many tangents, by the way. And by the way, I love the tangents. Like we can keep going on tangents. But with the voice acting thing, you were saying that you did a bunch of like on Casting Call Club. You did that for a while. Did you ever like host any projects, or did you just apply to everything you could see?
No, I never hosted anything because I was thinking about the logistics of it. It's like, yeah, that seems fun. Maybe I'll try that. And then I was like, I don't know actually if I want to put in that much work. To like make my own thing. So. Yeah, I mostly just applied to things that I liked the fandom of, you know, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, or like Preacher fan comic thing, like just stuff like that I was like, oh, just get some practice, you know. But yeah, I mean, I was not good. I will say that. I look back sometimes and listen to those and I'm like, terrible.
Hey, you always got to start somewhere, right? And look now, you're playing Ben.
Yeah, I mean, if I didn't have those early like casting of like, oh, this person thinks you're good enough to be in their thing.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I would have been like, oh, I guess I'm not good at it, and then just picked something else to do. You know.
Yeah.
So I think that stuff can be very important.
Mm-hmm. With like the earlier castings, did you always go for like the deeper like voice characters, or was that kind of like a new thing with Ben? Because you naturally have like a deeper voice, so.
Yeah, well, that's the weird thing, because like in my head, I'm like, this is what I've sounded like since really middle school. Like my voice dropped, like I don't know, 7th grade, just like from here down to whoa.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, I would go for more of those kinds of roles, but I also, I don't know, I didn't have a very good awareness of where my voice actually was. I think part of that is just getting experience and like training and everything. You learn kind of how to play around with your voice.
Yeah.
Because yeah, years ago, I would have just been like, oh, I have a deep voice, I'll go for the deep voice. But now I'm more willing to be like, all right, I can do like, there's this kind of goblin character, I'll do that,
Yeah.
something. But yeah, definitely when I started, like, there was one JoJo fan dub thing where I was like, this was, I mean, long enough ago that I don't even think the Part 3 anime...
Oh, really?
No, the Part 3 anime was probably out at that time, because I think that was in high school for me. But, yeah, it was a manga fan dub, and I was like, I'm gonna go for Jotaro. But then, like, having to lower my voice extra, because the Japanese version has such a low voice, I was like, so... yeah, I shouldn't have been going for as deep as I was, because my voice wasn't actually in that range.
Right.
I was, like, trying to force it. But, I mean, Ben is the very bottom of my register. He's the deepest character I've had to play so far. I mean, he'll be the deepest character I can play, really. I can't go lower than that. But, playing him actually did change my voice a little bit.
I was gonna ask you about that, because I heard when you were on, I was watching one of Chloe's streams, and you mentioned like when you were in there that you feel like that it changed your voice from doing it.
Yeah, I mean, your throat is a muscle like anything else. If you start working out part of it, then that's gonna like strengthen it,
Yeah.
So when it comes to your voice, like, I have more gravel in my voice now after playing Ben, because I had to get used to having my voice really low, but also having to do the, like, gravel part of it at the same time. So yeah, now I feel I've just got this, like, I don't know, kind of rougher voice, I would say.
Was it hard to get the gravel in that voice, like when you first started?
Yes. Yeah. No, it's because, when we did the first session, my audition was roughly the same voice, but with not as much of the gravel. Like, I know it said he's got, he's an accountant. So I was like, oh, so he'll be friendly, So I gave him kind of just that, like, oh, hello there, kind of friendly sound.
Right.
And then when I was in the first session, the people from MiHoYo were like, hey, can you do what you did in the audition? And I was like, I am. What do you mean?
Right.
And so they were like, oh, we mean this line specifically. And it was one of the combat lines.
Oh,
so they were like, we like the gravel. Yeah, I was like, well, that just happens when I scream.
Right.
So I don't know. But for that part of the game, Michael Schwalbe was the director. And he teaches a course on like metal singing techniques. He's a metal singer. So it's all about like how to use those kinds of screaming, throat tearing stuff safely. So he gave me a bunch of tips on how to do it that like absolutely saved me on it, because it was, that first session especially was a struggle to have that like, oh, hello there kind of thing, while also having the like, I'm a bear, kind of. So it took a while. Now I can get into it pretty easily on command, but when I was doing those sessions regularly, I would spend like half an hour before just practicing and like warming up.
That's so interesting. So like what kind of tips did he give you to like do that? Like what did you kind of have to practice to try to get that gravel in? Because I also try to do the deeper voices, and have you watched Ruby at all?
I haven't. I know of some of the stuff that happens in it just by cultural osmosis.
There's one character named Hazel, and he has a lot like deeper voice, and for some reason I like loved trying to do his voice, and so I always try to do that like that lower thing with a lot of gravel. So I'm interested, like what did he tell you to try to like get the gravel in there?
So there's a term. They're called your false chords, and it's a point in your throat where you can get this kind of resonant sound without like having to really force and strain your throat. So it's different for everybody. You have to kind of play around to find it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But basically the sound you're going for is
Oh, like the
yeah,
the,
you
like,
can hear
double thing.
that.
Oh, okay.
That like vibration. That's where your false chords are.
Huh.
And once you kind of have that, then you can use that to add in to the voice, like down here instead of up here. So like, going from like my voice to like a gravelier, like, hey, what's going on? That part comes from lower in the throat so it doesn't hurt.
I got you. Huh. Interesting.
And there's tutorials on like how to find your false chords and stuff like that, but a lot of it just comes down to like practice.
Yeah. I'll have to see like because I'll have to listen back to like the voice that I do for Hazel and see if I actually hear that or not, because Hazel's voice does have a lot of like gravel in it. Like it's more like what's one of the lines that he does, like let me attempt this. You're letting that boy make a fool of you, like that kind of like that thing. But I need to get more like gravel in there, I feel like.
Right.
And I did try like sending it, like normally I can do a little bit lower than that, but I did try sending like some things over to some people, and I think they were saying that you can hear like resonance. I actually sent one over to Chloe one time, and Chloe was saying that she can hear like a little like the resonance of like my normal voice in there, because it doesn't feel like I'm trying too hard to go that low. But yeah, it definitely, when I was first trying like to do like go that low, it definitely did like take a lot of practice at first. Now it feels like supernatural because I've been doing it for a couple years now at this point. But yeah, that's always super interesting. There
is just a natural component to it too, like Steve Bloom, that's just how his voice sounds.
Yeah.
So like he would have a hard time not having the gravel in his voice.
Yeah.
But for those of us with normal sort of voices, it's like, yeah, you can't expect to replicate someone's natural texture as easily. That's why like Billy West talked about with Futurama. He was like, when I got the role of Fry, I tried as much as possible to make it as close to my voice so they couldn't just like replace me.
Yeah, real.
Like, a really cartoony voice, like anybody, how many people can do like a really good Rick and Morty impression?
Yeah, right. Or like a Mickey Mouse impression or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when you just have your voice, it's like, well, it's harder for someone to copy everything that makes up your voice,
Yeah. So, like, what is when you first got like the role for Ben? I know you said that when you were first like doing the auditions, there's like the Hoyo person there. Did you like know Hoyoverse before you got the role? Because this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is your first like Hoyo role, correct?
So I've played a few NPCs in Genshin Impact.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So like, I mean, also it's, Hoyo's just one of the biggest like newcomers to the gaming market. So I've been peripherally aware of them for a while now, at least. But yeah, I mean, this is the first one I've really interacted with. Like, I was those NPCs in Genshin, but I never played Genshin because I was like, it's, it seems cool. It's also 3 years in now.
Oh,
what am I gonna do? Like, it's a lot of content to get caught up on. And also just the style of Zenless kind of appeals to me more.
It is very good.
I'm not as big into fantasy stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is the first game of theirs that I've like really played.
So you do like actively play Zenless then?
Yeah.
Are you like fully caught up?
I think I'm fully caught up with the main story.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I've been playing it on stream. Pretty much all we've got left is like the agent stories. I have like 5 of those left or something.
Yeah.
And then I've been trying to do all the Shiyu defense and Hollow Zero stuff, but
Yeah.
I've got to level up my people.
It's brutal. Yeah, the in-game level up thing, especially for Shiyu defense, it is a lot. I haven't like I've cleared them, but I haven't done all of them at S rank because that's a lot of work. That's very brutal.
I've done all the S rank ones that aren't time based. I've done all those
really?
S rank.
Oh, okay, yeah, the ones where you don't die.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Which I mean, those were brutal as well, but yeah, I mean, my B team just isn't nearly as good as my A team.
Yep,
and
same.
So my A team is fire and physical damage. So any of the ones where it's like ether or electric are the ones I'm like, oh man.
That's actually really funny because my A team is my ether team, and I'm working on my fire team like currently. That's what I'm trying to get up is my fire, because there's a lot of fire weakness in the Shiyu defense one. So I'll have to try to get it up. So is this like is this your first gacha game, or have you like played gacha games before?
Yeah, this is pretty much the first one. I mean, I played Dragon Ball Dokkan Battle for like a little bit.
Yeah, hell
like,
yeah.
I just, at a certain point, I realized I was like, I don't think there's really a game here.
Yeah,
like,
the gameplay was not good.
I was like, I either have the characters who can beat it, or I don't. But either way, there's no strategy for this other than like, oh, I got the right color balls. That's
exactly.
good,
Yeah,
you know?
my cousin was who I currently live with. He was super big into that game, and he also agrees like the combat wasn't good, but it's just that like when you're into the game, that it, especially when it's like Dragon Ball, and obviously that when they come out with all the Ultra Instinct or like whatever, then you're gonna want to collect it, like you want it on your account. So he played that for a long time, but I got into gacha games when I was young, and so it's one of those things where like if you get into it when you're young, it's you kind of run into the gambling problem.
Yeah,
because like I did have I will admit, when I first got into gacha games, I had a little bit of an issue of not spending money whenever like banners are coming out. I would never get to the point of like spending money that I would have needed for like rent or something, but there was times where I could have used it for something else. But I mean, it is what it is. The first like gacha game that I got into was Grand Blue. Have you heard of Grand Blue?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Okay, yeah. They came out with a fighting game recently, and they also tried like a kind of, I don't know if it's accurate to compare it to Monster Hunter, but it kind of felt like Monster Hunter-esque, which I have not played Monster Hunter. Have you played Monster Hunter?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Monster
Hunter.
Oh,
are you? Okay, sick. I do want to try the new one. Is Wilds the new one?
Yeah, Wilds.
Yeah, because they showed the clip of I think it was the dual blades, where you like literally Beyblade spin down the monster. Like it looks so sick.
Yeah, I don't know when they added that attack in. I want to say at the very least it's in Monster Hunter Rise as well. But yeah, no, I mean, they go on sale for pretty cheap if you want to jump into one like before spending on
I do own Worlds. Was Rise the one that was only on Switch?
Yeah, and now
was that
it's
one
on
good?
PC again.
Oh, it is on PC? Oh, okay, sick.
Yeah, they ported it over. I mean, Monster Hunter World looks better because it was designed for the PC.
Right.
Rise is just kind of like, it looks like kind of a PlayStation 2 game.
Okay. Honestly, I don't really care too much if like the graphics are bad, but if the gameplay's good, then like I'll play the game. But was it Worlds that had like the ice expansion, like the Ice World DLC? Okay, yeah, that's the one that I think a lot of my friends like were into, and it always looks super fun. But it's one of those things where it takes a lot of time, right? It's like a time sink.
It definitely can. There's ways to play it where it doesn't have to take as much time, but like Monster Hunter people who like really love the games, like it's not uncommon for them to be like, ugh, this Monster Hunter sucks. I only played it for 300 hours, you know,
Yeah.
like, but, yeah, I would say World is a good one to start with because that was like everybody's jumping on point if they weren't already a fan.
Uh-huh.
I started on Monster Hunter 3U on the Wii U.
Oh, wow.
And like Monster Hunter World was so much better just because like old Monster Hunter controls are so shitty.
Was
like,
it? I mean, it was the Wii U, I guess.
It's just like everything was slow and choppy and like kind of jank, you know?
Yeah.
Like in the new ones, if you go to like take a healing potion and then a monster is coming at you, you can roll out of it. You know?
Okay.
But in the old ones, you would stop, stand straight up, take a drink, and the animation had to go all the way through.
Yeah.
And if the monster started going again, it was just like, well,
You just gotta
I guess
take it.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
You know? So World's a good one to start with because there was a lot of like stuff that they explained that, you know, these games are absolutely, at least prior to World, like you have to have a wiki open so you know what the hell's going on.
Like for the story
Like,
or for the gameplay?
For like any of it.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I was using the Great Sword. So, you know, giant blade, super heavy. I did not know you are supposed to charge your attack when you swing it for like probably 60% of the game.
Oh, okay.
The only reason I found out otherwise is because I used to have a YouTube channel where I would play this stuff. And somebody on one of those videos was like, for the love of God, charge your attacks. And I was like, what?
Yeah,
you
what
can do that? So like I looked up like, you know, Great Sword tutorial and I was like, oh my God. This is like, they should have explained this in game somewhere.
Yeah.
You know?
I did the like when World first came out, I think is when I bought it, because I did try to get into it, and I did the tutorial all the way up to like you get to the point where you open up a chest and it has like one of every basic like weapon, and you can like choose what you want. And I was like, I don't know which one I want to choose yet. I'm gonna wait. And then I logged off and I never got back on. Not because I didn't like the game, but I just for some reason I didn't have that like initial drive to get back on, and then I just completely forgot about it. But I do think it would be fun. I'm a big like Destiny fan. And I used to play Warframe like when that first came out, and so I am used to like time sink games. Like those are games where you have to spend a lot of time grinding.
Yeah.
So I think Monster Hunter would fit in my like likeness.
Yeah.
And I definitely, if I do get into it, I would want to use like the dual blades that I saw with that attack with the dual thing.
Yeah. A lot of people like dual blades.
Growing up, what was like some of the games that you played? What was like your go-to thing?
I mean, I'll play just about anything, as long as it's interesting to me. There's not like one specific genre I sort of stick to, but I would say growing up, like early experiences, a lot of Crash Bandicoot, you know, Mario Kart,
Spyro?
We did have a Spyro game. I think we had the second Spyro game.
Yeah.
Or maybe the third one. We had all the Crash games and like one Spyro. And then we didn't have a Nintendo 64, which was weird cuz like we all liked that stuff. But
yeah.
I mean, I was born in 1995, so by the time I was like old enough to know what I was choosing for like Christmas, that stuff was all kind of out the window anyway. So like, I got a GameCube was like my first console, but I had an older brother. He's 6 years older, so we had a PlayStation because that's what he wanted for Christmas one year, you know. So we had Crash Bandicoot. We would do one of the NBA games. I don't think it was Jam, but it was one of the kind of arcadey ones.
Yeah.
NFL Blitz. Loved that game. I mean, yeah, we'd really play anything.
Yeah, I will say I was never okay. I was never a big fan of like sports games, but if there was like a sporty game that I played, it was like one of the really really early like UFC games that was on like PlayStation. I think it was either PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 that I like played it on. But Crash, I was addicted to. I loved that series. And Spyro, it was one of those things where I think what was the, like there was one that I remember. It was Crash Mind Over Mutants. That one was like the first one that I remember like actively like wanting really bad. But those
Did you ever get to play it?
Oh yeah, I played the hell out of it. Yeah, I played like almost all of the Crashes, and so when they did like the little remastered thing, like what was it like 2-3 years ago now? That was sick. That was very fun, and they also redid it with Spyro. I was really huge with Spyro, and that was when I will always remember this moment because it was I don't remember which Spyro it was, but it was the first one where you could like transform into Dark Spyro, and to do so you needed to press R3, so just press the right stick in. I was too young. I didn't know that you could press in the stick as a button, and I was like, I need to get a new controller. My controller doesn't have an R3. Like, what is that? So I was like looking up PS2 controllers with R3 button, and then that's when I learned that I could press the stick in, and my mind was blown.
No, I liked the sports games before they just became like simulators.
Okay, that's fair, yeah.
Like NFL Blitz was fun because it wasn't like so rigid with football rules. Like you could set your play to be like, oh, you're gonna run it, and then just not do that at all. Like, or you could, and not even like, oh, you're faking the play. You're whatever. I don't watch football enough to know the proper term. But,
yeah, I don't either.
One of my favorite things to do was like you're right at the goal line, the opposing team's goal line. You're like right there, you're about to get to the end zone. And you make it look like you're gonna go for a run. Because they're obviously like, oh, gotta block it. 2 points, can't let that happen.
Right.
And then you just run straight back all the way back to your end zone, and then you throw it, and it just goes like the entire length of the football field.
Oh, really?
And, like, like whoever you're playing against is like, I have no idea. Like, how do I even stop this?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
But you could also. I'd like to do a full team blitz, where as soon as they hike the ball, you just tap B and A really fast to switch. So you are instantly switching to a player and then tackling.
Oh,
so
okay.
Like, you just get your entire team to converge all on one person.
That's so funny.
It was very fun.
There was one of the games that I think it was like one football game that I played. I don't remember which one it was, but I remember that was one that I played with my dad because like my dad enjoyed that game. But for some reason, I think when did they start doing? Did you play like sports games for a while, or did you stop that like before they started doing loot boxes and like all the?
I stopped way before
loot
boxes were even a thing. Like once it was just like EA's Madden NFL, like I was like, all right, well, this isn't as fun, and this is the only football game, so I guess I'm done with football games.
That is true. There isn't really any like competitors to those games, is there? It's always just that's the main one, is the EA like Madden or NFL or whatever.
Well, yeah, because EA essentially worked out a deal with them where they're like, we're the only one who gets to make these games. Yeah. Which is how they ended up being like, oh, we actually don't have to try because we have no competition, so we'll just release the same game every time.
Exactly. It just came back to my head, but one of the other games that I played when I was a kid, did you ever play Sly Cooper? That was a big one on PlayStation.
I didn't play it, but I had friends who had it, and I thought it looked cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really cool. I think it was like 2 or 3 of them, and then they were they like tried to make an animated movie or something, and it like got canceled, and that was depressing because
Right.
as a kid seeing like, oh, we're gonna make like an animated movie of this, I'm like, yo, that's sick, and then it just didn't
Yeah.
happen.
I mean, I'm a fan of gorillas, so I've felt that pain many times.
Yeah.
Where they're like, we're doing a gorillas TV show, we're doing a movie, and it's like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
You're just saying you are, and then it's gonna get canceled again.
It happens every time. They just like to let people down. I will say the boards that you have there, I don't know if they're all stickers in the background, but like those are sick as hell. Did you have a lot of comics growing up, or was that like a? I mean, obviously, I think you're a big fan of Marvel at least.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a ton of comics as a kid. I got into it. I mean, I guess I was a kid, but like older kid, I would say. When did the first Iron Man come out?
Like the movie?
2000. Yeah.
I think it was 2000.
6.
I think it was it? I think it was 2008. Let me see.
That sounds right.
Iron Man 1. Yeah, it was 2008, but I guess technically the first one, or no, it was right after Iron Man is when the Incredible Hulk came out, which is technically still a part of the MCU, because that one came out like a couple months after Iron Man, I think.
All right, so then I would have been 13, I think. 5. Yeah, I would have been 13. So I started getting into comics sort of after that, I think. Weirdly, I don't think I got like an Iron Man comic as my first thing. I was just like, cool. And then I started just picking stuff that seemed interesting. But I mean, since then, I definitely am much more of a comic fan. Tend to lean towards Marvel just because like DC's big, like Justice League. I don't like most of the members of the Justice League that much.
That's very fair. Yeah.
So like, I tend to read a lot more Marvel, but I like independent stuff too. Like, what's their name? Image Comics and Boom Comics. Like anything that seems interesting, I will read. So I've got some DC stuff, but it's usually like I don't just have like Batman 139.
Right, yeah.
Like, it's the weird stuff where it's like, I don't know, events or like the Injustice comics or what was it? The one where like Batman becomes the Joker or whatever.
Oh, was the Batman Who Laughs? Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I got like one of those because I get the like trade paperback ones typically or omnibuses. So I got the trade of like the Batman Who Laughs or whatever, and then I saw they like just kept going with it, and I was like,
yeah,
right,
I think the story for that is like not great, but I love the design for the Batman Who Laughs. The design and the artwork that they've always done for that was so sick.
Yeah, it was enjoyable for like one trade, but when it was like, oh, we're doing like another 50 issues,
a whole series,
like,
yeah,
I don't,
yeah,
I've already seen the deal. How much longer am I going to read the same thing?
Yeah,
which I guess is really what comics are. Like, what has Spider-Man really changed that much?
Yeah, they just changed the way he gets his depression in every single series. But yeah, I will agree that I'm definitely more of a Marvel fan than I am a DC fan, because I do agree that I feel like Marvel heroes have a lot more I don't know, they have a lot more like charisma to them than the DC characters do, but there are a lot of really cool DC like characters in comics. But the one thing that DC absolutely dominates in is the animated space. Like I will eat up anything DC animated, because their movies and shows are so good. And I actually have not been able to check out the redo, or I guess not a redo, it's a continuation, the X-Men 97 or whatever it is. And I've heard very, very good things, but I haven't been able to check it out yet. But I've always been a big Marvel fan, because again, like you were saying, when Iron Man came out, I think I actually don't know. I think I was a lot younger. When did let me see. When did Marvel Alliance come out?
I want to say like 2006.
Let me see. Ultimate Alliance, because that was 2000. Okay, yeah. So I was 5. I was 5 when that game came out, and I was obsessed with that game. That one, and then when did Ghost Rider happen? Ghost Rider is I loved Marvel Ultimate Alliance and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, where it was like based on Civil War. That shit was gas. It was so good. Unfortunately, or I guess thankfully, from hearing the reviews, I did not play the third one that was on Switch. Because I heard that one was terrible, but Ghost Rider came out in 2007. Yeah, so Ghost Rider I think was the very first comic that I had, because that's when I started, actually one of the first and only comics that I actually like owned. But for some reason Ghost Rider was just so sick, like the way that he used the chain. Yeah,
I was gonna say for some reason, but he's like a flaming skull biker.
Right, exactly.
I think I know the reason is that he's just fucking cool.
Yeah, exactly. And my dad had a motorcycle, and so I ended up getting a motorcycle for a while. I do miss it. I sold it like a couple of years ago, but I will say I do want to get a motorcycle again. That was very fun. But I do wish that they would bring Ghost Rider in a little bit more into like the MCU, but I know why they haven't. He is overpowered. Like it would be kind of hard to fit him into the stuff, but I love Ghost Rider.
if you're willing to just ignore stuff, like when not Civil War, in Endgame, when it was like Captain Marvel, she needs help, and it's like she doesn't, you know, but it makes for a fun scene, so who cares? But like, I mean, even in the comics, they do Ghost Rider dirty all the time, because they're like, we have no way to ride around it, you know? So you just get shit like, oh, I'm using the penance stare on you, and it's like, yeah, well, I don't feel bad, so it doesn't work. And it's like, that is not how that works.
Yeah. But they didn't commit any sin, so it's fine.
I think that's why they should bring in Robbie Reyes as the Ghost Rider, because like he's like just as strong, but he's young enough that he doesn't really know what he's doing at all.
Yeah, and they did have him in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a little bit before. I think that show got canceled, or maybe it finished all the way. I don't know.
It either got canceled or just absorbed into the greater MCU, and they were like, right. Let's not touch this and make things more complex.
I will say I have not watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but when I saw that they added Ghost Rider, I did go through and like watch all the scenes of Ghost Rider in there.
Yeah.
And I think that was my first introduction to Robbie. And I will say, I love the skull design. Like it is a lot more like less human scully. Yeah, but it's pretty sick. I don't think the the sports car is as cool as the bike. I do think the bike is still way cooler. The Hell Charger. Yeah.
Well, so I was like, when that first comic with Robbie came out, I was like, Ghost Rider has a bike. What is this bullshit? But genuinely, that comic was so good with him as a character. I was like, all right, that's fine. Yeah. He's Ghost Rider. This is cool. Like,
he is a sick character.
Like, yeah, his design's really cool. The like motorcycle, like racing kind of outfit, and the more like metal head with, and the flame being like localized to the hole in the top is like super cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And he doesn't use the same chain exactly. I don't remember what his looks like, but the thing that made me decide like, oh no, this is like a really cool way to take this character was, so part of Ghost Rider's deal is like he can call the motorcycle from wherever, basically.
Right. Yeah.
So there was a part where Ghost Rider's fighting, I don't remember what kind of Hulk, but the Hulk is pissed off and he's lost control, and so the Hulk's holding him, he's like squeezing him, and so he's like, oh, I'm gonna crush you to bits or whatever. And so he calls the car and it like comes through and smashes into him.
Yeah.
And then like he phases through the car to then be sitting in,
okay,
and I was
yeah.
like,
I
right,
think
that's
they actually,
pretty
I
rad.
think they may have done a clip of that in Agents of Shield. I don't remember,
Hmm.
but yeah, I have seen like that before, or maybe it was in the I think it may have been in the animated short for the game that they recently came out with that was kind of like XCOM, like gameplay wise.
Yeah, Midnight Suns.
Midnight Suns, yeah. I love I never got to finish that game. I did start it, but I will say the designs in that game were actually really sick.
Yeah, I liked that game a lot. I just ran into the same problem. Like every time someone's like, "Oh, it's like XCOM," and then I play it, and I'm like, it's not exactly like XCOM.
Oh, is it not? Okay, I haven't played
I want
XCOM. I just
XCOM.
know that it was like it was. So what's the difference in the gameplay then?
Well, I mean, so with Midnight Suns, you can pick your cards,
Mhm.
but you don't really get to pick the positioning of your character, It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
where they're at is where the thing starts. So like there's more tactical thinking in that regard of like I don't get to pick where my person ends up, so I have to make sure I don't use a move that's going to like screw them over.
Uh-huh.
But in XCOM, it's a lot more precise. Like you get to pick exactly where your character goes within their move limit, and like
Got you.
depending on how that works, then they, the enemies have half cover or full cover, and like you can flank, and that does extra. But like you don't know if the enemy's going to come around the corner and catch you in a bad spot. Like XCOM 2 is probably one of my favorite games ever. And it sucks that I can never find like a good version of that system anywhere but XCOM 2.
Interesting. Okay, I'm gonna have to try that out then, because that does sound sick. So it's a lot more like actual like strategy then with XCOM.
Yeah, and it's also a really good like brutal game. Like it's even on the relatively easy difficulties, one mistake can absolutely ruin your entire game.
Uh-huh.
Because I always play on Iron Man mode, which is you can't save. You get no
okay,
save
damn.
scumming. So you can't like save, see how it works, and then reload.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, which
So
is
is
I
it
think
like
the way to play it.
Like Fire Emblem, where like if your unit dies, it's just permanently dead then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's merit to like making your own characters. Like it's fun. There's voice packs and stuff, and you can customize them. So like I would make, kind of meme characters of like,
Yeah.
oh, this one's the Joker, this one's Deadpool,
The Joker,
like that kind of
baby.
stuff. But there's also like a fun thing that I haven't seen in most other games where like you have a character whose name is just, John Smith, like just some guy, right?
Yeah.
And so you'll be playing through the game, the mission's going bad, everyone's dead except for John Smith, and you're like, okay, I have to kill this alien this turn, or they're gonna kill me.
Yeah.
And it's only got like a 25% chance to hit. So you're like, all right, and then John Smith kills the alien, and you're like, yes,
Yeah,
all right,
hell yeah.
John Smith. John Smith is my guy now. He's going on every mission.
Yeah.
So then, like, you start to care about this character that's like nothing,
That's super
then-
sick, yeah.
Later on, when he finally dies, because they always do, it's always like, oh no, my
No,
best
John
soldier.
Smith. Yeah.
But, I liked Midnight Suns a lot, but it's if someone had if they didn't say like, oh, it's like XCOM, I would have probably
Enjoyed it
not
more.
gone into it with like expectations.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
once I got over that, I was like, all right.
It's a decent
But
game. Yeah, I do want to
yeah,
try. I didn't get
it's a
too
fun
far in
one.
it, but yeah, it is sick. Also, chat. If you have questions, by the way, you can start asking them now because we are reaching close to our my 90-minute thing. We did geek out for a while there. Sorry about that. Yeah, when I start talking about comics and stuff that I like, I just get lost in the time.
I'm sorry for nothing. This is a more accurate representation of me than just answering questions, I think.
Yeah, that's what I try to have these be, is just a lot more chill chat. I think this is probably the chillest like chatting thing that we've done so far, as opposed to me just asking questions. Because I think we have a lot more in common than I have with everyone else. But yeah, it's very sick. One question I do want to ask you before chat starts, or to give chat time. What's like a character that you would love to voice in the future, whether that be like in a game, or if you ever do like a show or anything like that?
So, I mean, Ghost Rider is one of my favorites.
Hell yeah.
Moon Knight also.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. So I think I would fit as either of those characters. Like I don't think I would make for a great Deadpool probably. Just got a very different energy level. But I think I could do those two characters justice. So,
I think you could do Moon Knight for sure. I could see that happening. I love Moon Knight too. Moon Knight is sick.
Yeah, I liked him before they brought him into the MCU and all that. And then everyone was like, "Oh, so he always has like moon power?" And I was like, "He usually doesn't have any powers at all." Like, it's a very weird one they decided to go for that TV series.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it for what it was. But it did have its issues. And I think didn't they say that there was going to be like a season 2 and then it like got canceled or something?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's been canceled. I do know that when they, saw everyone was like, we cannot watch all of this stuff. There's too much. They were like, all right, we're going to slow down. And I think that was one of the ones that was like, all right, we'll back off for a minute.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think it did pretty well. So I think people still want more of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay seeing more of it.
I understand why they made the suit like part of it, where it's like, oh, his powers are, he gets this suit, because like, how would you explain all the different suits without it being like, because in that one he wasn't like rich,
Yeah.
Or at the very least, the personality that had most of his time wasn't rich.
Yeah,
so,
he was like just a normal museum worker.
Yeah, but yeah, they would probably be one of my top choices. I also think if I could get a shot just as any character in a Resident Evil game, that would be really cool.
Hell yeah.
If I had to pick a specific one, Leon's my favorite, so I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
But my older brother is a huge fan of Resident Evil, so I think it would be really fun to be like, leave it as a surprise and then be like, hey, I'm in it.
Dude, hell yeah, that'd be sick.
So, yeah, that's probably my, those are my top picks.
Those are some great choices. I love that. So Matrix asked, how do you feel about Ben Bigger being an accountant? Was that like a surprise to you, or?
I mean, on the audition, it said he was a bear warrior. So originally I thought like, oh, it's like a fantasy game, like World of Warcraft or something. And then when it said he's an accountant, I was like, okay.
A warrior accountant.
I was like, I've never heard of an accountant in a fantasy setting, but all right.
Right.
I mean, I like that it's part of his character because I think it adds a lot to the personality of him. It makes him so he's not just like the brute of the group, But I am terrible at math. Accountant is like the number one job that I would never have in real life. So we're a little different in that regard, but I do like that it's part of his deal.
Yeah, I will say he is even though he that's so funny that they had him as Bear Warrior because like he is a big softy. Like even in during what it was chapter 2, I'm assuming everyone here has already finished chapter 2. But when Kolita, like the backstory happens with Horrors and all that, you can find Ben like off to the side, literally crying about like how upset Kolita is, which it's like, oh, I feel so bad. I'm like, poor guy.
Yeah. My favorite character, I mean, I'm biased, but Ben. And then for my favorite non-Ben character, probably Billy.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Just everything about like his design just hit exactly right. I'm like, I love like gunslinger types, and like cyborgs or robots with cool designs. I think are
his design is so good.
Yeah, like I was talking. I don't remember who it was, but someone on my stream. I mentioned that like if I could get a pair of like Billy's like headphone things, which are part of his head, I guess, but they look like they're headphones, you know. I was like, if they sold like headphones of that, I would buy them.
Oh, absolutely. I would too. So cool. I would also buy Anby's headphones too, the ones that she wears. Honestly, they could sell them. That'd be great merch for Hoyo to do, is to sell those as a
That's the biggest like missed opportunity for all of these properties, is like it's never just like I mean, I get why they don't, because it's expensive, but like I think people would pay $100 for like a shirt or pants or
absolutely
jacket
they have
replica, you know,
like in Honkai Impact 3rd HI3 they do have a lot of like clothes and stuff. Like they have like Kiana jacket, they have a bunch of like just other like jackets and bags styled like certain ways, and those are very expensive, and they also don't sell them like in the United States, so you have to get them like imported from China, and so it's even more expensive. But dude, they're so sick. Like I would spend a lot of money on those bags and stuff if I was able to get them here. That's why, because when they did do a pop-up shop for HI3 where they actually allowed like a lot of the stuff to be there, and it was like nearby, and I went and I ended up spending like $600 because I wanted everything that was there, and it was like one of the only opportunities. But yeah, I do agree, it's a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's always weird to me, like when merch, they never do clothes, like stickers or like a notebook. I'm like, I get the markup on this is like way better, but like, do you know how much fan service like you could give with this? Like, people would be so happy, you know.
ZZZ jacket would be fire. I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like all the drip on the, because like this is the only like, okay, this is official merch that I won from like one of their Twitter giveaways, but it's the EOS like phone stand. And it is cute. It's great. I love it. And it's also unbelievably soft, like crazy soft. But like, if they do more, I would buy more. But yes.
Yeah. No, there was on Etsy. There was like a Billy jacket somebody was selling.
Oh, really?
But it was like $1,000. Like,
oh,
because it
God.
was like real leather, and like, I was like, I get why it's so expensive, but Jesus, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, someone else asked, what's your favorite bin line?
I'm partial to the ult, you should have worn a hard hat.
That one is great.
Just, I mean, that session where I was doing all those battle lines for like 3 days afterwards, I was just like
dead.
So, you know, they turned out really well in game, in my opinion. So I was like
100%.
I'm partial to that one because I'm very proud of it. But yeah, I also like the one where you find him in the hollow, and he's like howls to keep the ethereals away.
Have I
think it's
seen
really
that
funny.
one? I don't know if I've seen that. Is it when you bring him into Hollow Zero?
Yeah, you bring him into. It's when you like find him in the hollow. You know, there's the like telephone.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
huh.
won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen it because I think it's really funny.
Yeah, okay,
But
I'll try that. I'll try to bring him in next time, yeah.
any cool theories you have about your character, like how he got his scar? I don't. I mean, I don't know enough about any of the characters to have any like real theories, but
Yeah.
uh, my my theory is that he lost his family, which is how he ended up at Belobog.
Mhm.
And this is all my opinion. I have no information whatsoever to suggest that any of this is real. But
Yeah.
uh, in whatever incident it was that caused him to lose his family, he also lost his eye. Uh, that's my headcanon as to why he's with Belobog and what happened.
Yeah.
The alternative theory is he and Kaleda lost their eyes at the same time in the same incident.
That would be
Uh,
sick.
but I don't know how that would happen.
Yeah, I don't know either, but I actually love that idea. That'd be really cute because of how much Ben actually appreciates Kolita for promoting him to be the assistant. Because I know Ben, I don't remember exactly what it was, but Ben did work on like the front lines or whatever before he was promoted, and that's why he didn't like doing that work, and so that's why he loves Kolita for her actually promoting him. So yeah, that'd be sick.
Right.
I hope we get more. I know the agent missions are more like for 5 stars, and the trust events are more for like just everybody, but I would love for them to do more agent missions that are not just 5 stars, because they do like the hangouts in Genshin, and I think that'd be sick if they did that. That way we'd get a little bit more backstory. But
yeah, it's very weird because like I haven't played any of the others, so I don't have first-hand experience, but from what I've seen, people are like, this game has way more interaction with all the characters. It's more character focused, and there's also like just not that much information about these characters. Like they've set up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So it would be really weird to just leave it all completely a mystery.
Right.
But like, I don't know. I mean, by nature of a gacha game, like it's always going to be the conveyor belt of new people coming out. So like,
yeah.
I don't know when they would ever have time to like, all right, now we're going to go back and add these agent stories.
And that's what I love about HI3 is because they do go back, like they treat all the characters in HI3 with a lot of respect. Like all of them are like completely fleshed out. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't really stick with Genshin that much, was because it did feel like that just conveyor belt of characters, and they kind of felt lifeless.
Yeah.
Like they're obviously the character's nice when you're doing the story mission that they're in, but once you're finished with it, like you never interact with them again. And that's why I was saying that I loved this most recent mission that they added in 1.1, where you get to play as like Jane, and you like the MCs aren't involved at all. So I would love to see another situation like that, where it's like we play as Belobog as they have to deal with like some sort of construction project like debacle thing. I think that'd be really sick.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Yeah, no,
questions?
it's one of those things, like I get why they do it the way they do it, but like I don't know. I feel like the reason most people don't get into gacha games is because of that like very, very clear process of like, oh, that character you liked a month ago, they're dead now. Doesn't matter. So, if you're not guaranteed to get the character you like, and you do get the character you like, but then they don't matter after like a month, I think for a lot of people it's like, well, why would I want to invest so much time then?
Yeah, and that's what's nice about, like you said, people always mention the fact that this one is more like character focused, and I think a big part of that is because we can just find them in the street, and we can just like find them literally just like doing their own thing around the world, and then we can get like the trust like rank up with them, which is sick, and even have them promote the video store, which is cool. But yeah, I'd love to see more interactions, like a more in-depth thing, because it doesn't go too far into the like with the trust events. It's nice to have
Right.
them, but I would like to see like another like 4 ranks be added like later, because even
Yeah.
Soldier doesn't even have her final one yet, which I assume is probably because it's very important with Anby, and it's like they're waiting to add that into the
Yeah.
game. But yeah, I just hope that they add more.
Yeah, that's the thing that's so weird, that like I'm caught up on the story and like there's nothing mentioned about why they look exactly the same, or like,
Yep.
you know, I don't know. It's very different from the games I've played normally. So like it's a weird thing to be like, yeah, I just waiting to find out stuff, I guess.
Yep. Yeah, and one of the things like that Hoyo's way of storytelling is, I don't remember what the actual term is for it, but they'll like explain things in the world like via a character, but sometimes like it's a way to easily be able to change any storylines if they need to in the future. But the way that they'll explain it with that character is the way that that character understands it, which is only from their perspective. So if a character like in the future comes out and they want to like retcon how a system works, then it's just because this new character has a deeper understanding, and it doesn't work like that, it works like this. And so they kind of keep a lot of things like vague in the early stages, that way they can expand upon it later. But like Matrix said, they're unveiling the lore over time. I do think Belobog will continue to be more relevant, especially because we did get to see when we decrypted the like audio log from the prototype, we got to watch it with Grace and Coleta. So I do think that we will get story of them dealing with it and on their own terms or whatever. So yeah, I think it'll be sick to see what they do there. Blanco said, do you think there'll be birthday events with the agents? Will I wish proxies happy birthday in unique ways?
I have no idea. That would be cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to record a happy birthday for people, but yeah, I don't know. Is that something they have in the other games?
So actually in HI3, it's kind of the opposite. They don't have voice lines for when like it's your birthday, then like the other characters will wish you happy birthday. But in HI3, when it's the character's birthday, they'll send you like a dedicated like long ass completely voiced paragraph of like how like what they've done recently, and just like a cute message of like, oh, they want to do this with you, or they want to like spend a little bit more time with you, whatever. But it's just like a cute little like, hey, it's my birthday and I'm awesome. So I think that would be cool, actually. Now that you bring that up with the happy birthday messages, I would like to see that come in here, because we do have the canon birthdays like in the game. But yeah.
Ben's is what, like the 23rd of December or something?
Oh, let me see. I can actually pull it up. I have the wiki like permanently bookmarked. Let me see. They added I did not realize they added Jane and Seth in here. Hold on. Ben's birthday is on December 23rd. Right. December 23rd.
Yeah, I remember seeing that and being like, kind of a weird, I mean, I know people in real life have that birth date, but like I was like, that's very specific.
Yeah, yes. I think I do wonder if they actually like think about when they place their birthdays, or if they just do like a random like generator for the birthday or not.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like somebody was like, "Oh, are you going to stream on Ben's birthday?" And I was like, "Probably not." Like December 23rd, I'm probably going to be like hanging out with my family for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. You could do that. You could do a little. Actually, do they let you do that? Is that like can you just do the voice and say like whatever you want, or do you have to get? Okay, I was gonna say I think you have to get like approval, right?
I think technically I'm not supposed to like even ask for approval. Like
I
don't think I'd get in trouble if I asked, but
yeah.
The answer would probably always be no, because
that's so interesting.
They want as much control over their character and their character's image as possible.
Right, yeah, and that makes sense.
So they don't want the voice actors saying, like, I'm this character and I support this political thing.
Oh, okay,
like,
that's fair, yeah,
like,
yeah.
So, no, because I, on Cameo, my first cameo request with someone like, "Hey, can you say happy birthday as Ben?" And I was like, "No, I can't." And they're like, "All right, well, that's fine. Just say it as you then." And I was like, "Okay."
Okay, there you go.
I would like to, but they get apparently very, very cagey about that stuff.
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised. That does make sense, especially when you bring up the political thing. Neurotic said, do you feel Ben is maybe one of the funniest characters you played? And what are some other funny voice acting scene or event fan content stuff you've done?
I mean, Ben definitely has some of the funniest lines. I mean, like that one I was talking about earlier in the Hollow. Everybody was cracking up in the session when I was recording that one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, just the way he reacts to stuff, I think is really funny. Like, where people are like, "Ah, Ben, come on, you gotta be tougher." And he's like, "Well, I don't know. I'm sorry," Other funny voice acting scenes or events. I haven't voiced a lot of super funny characters. I'm doing one in a project that I can't be very specific about. That I think is really fun. And I would love to talk about it more. But
yeah, when you can, yeah.
Yeah. Very different kind of character. Very sarcastic and like kind of condescending, which is fun. They have some pretty funny lines in that one. Although I'd say probably the funniest sort of like shift in character for what was it called? Dragonair. There's some gotcha thing. I played like a rat man. So
rat man?
Yeah, listening to that character's voice compared to Ben's, it's like, that's a pretty big shift.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I would say. Yes, for that.
I'm trying to find the I didn't realize that I wasn't following you until earlier today. I was gonna send your we're gonna have to start wrapping it up, chat. So if you have any other questions, like any final questions, you can ask them. But with the project that you just mentioned, whenever you can talk about it, chat here is Henry's Twitter. That way you guys can follow and keep up to date with anything that they announce. Here you go. Oh yeah, I guess it's officially X now. I will never call it X.
Nobody will.
Yeah, no.
Even
this
Elon
is still
doesn't.
Twitter. Let's see. Okay, yeah. I think that's it for questions. But thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it. This was very fun. We had a little geek out section there when it came to the comics, but this was very fun. I had a very chill chat, and I greatly appreciate you coming on stream.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yes, of course. And final thing. I have, like, in the past I've done like a Zenless game show thing. And it was kind of like around Jeopardy, but I'm kind of coming up with a new idea for having the voice actors on to have like different factions going against each other. And it's going to be based on Family Feud. It's going to be Faction Feud. And the first one that I'm going to have is Victoria Housekeeping versus the Cunning Hares. But if you'd be interested, I'd love to have you on with Bellabog Squad in the future at some point.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
That sounds fun.
Amazing. I'm glad. Let's go. I keep forgetting to ask while I have you guys on stream because it's like the easiest opportunity for me to ask. But I'll keep you up to date. It'll be a while before that happens, but yeah, it should be fun.
Do you get to play Steve Harvey for that?
Yeah, I'll be playing the host. Yeah.
What's a part of the body that you can lick? And when someone's like, penis, he's like,
what? What do you mean?
How you would say that on TV?
Yeah, I don't think you could say that.
Top answer.
Well, penis.
So yeah, obviously. That's
yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah,
but yes, thank you again for coming on, chat. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. We will be back with more of the Vanity Voices series in the future, so keep a lookout for that. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and end it off here. But goodbye, chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. Goodbye.
So long, everybody.